Gashero. Welcome for today's webinar. It's about field data collection using collector for ArcGIS. So let's look at the outline. We'll talk about the ArcGIS platform, field operations overview, collector for ArcGIS, field data collection workflow. These are the steps that you undertake while you want to collect data using collector for ArcGIS. Towards the end, I will also focus on, I will also do a software demonstration on how you actually prepare the web layer, how you create the web map, and how you actually collect the data. Then towards the end, I will also take questions. So if you have any question, you can kindly type them at the chat section, and my team, people in the technical team, will be helping in answering the questions as you write them on the chat section. But you can still ask your questions once I'm done. Yeah, you just need to unmute and then you ask the question and I'll respond to it. So let's look at the ArcGIS platform. So when you talk of the ArcGIS platform, the vision behind the ArcGIS platform, it's being able to, it's all about accessing GIS resources anywhere, anytime, using any device. We'll be looking at how do you do field data collection while working within the ArcGIS platform. So ArcGIS platform comes with different components. We have the desktop applications. So this is where we normally order the schema for the field data collection. Then you publish it to the portal or into ArcGIS or online, depending on your subscription. Once it is hosted there, the web map can actually be accessed by either a mobile phone or your smart. As long as you have a mobile phone, you're able to access the web map that is hosted within your portal, and you can go to the field and you collect the data. So when you talk of ArcGIS field data collection, it's all anchored within the ArcGIS platform. So I will be demonstrating this on how you use the different capabilities as you prepare your map for data collection. So when we talk of the field operations, within the field operations, we have a lot of applications that comes with field operations. So I'll just quickly go through these operations, and then we see where does collector for ArcGIS fall. So within the field operations, we have applications like web app for where you can generate a request. It's mostly we use web applications. For like when you talk of cloud sourcing, for instance, you want to get some information from the field, so you can just create a web application and you will be getting some information. Maybe you can also generate, in terms of generating a request, maybe if maybe you're in the utility, there's a water pipe that has burst, or maybe meter, someone needs a water connection to be done. So they can just use that with web application to generate their request. And once they do that from your web map, you're able to see that. We also have applications for coordinating the field activities. When you have people who are working in the field, you need to keep tab on what they're doing. You can use Workforce for ArcGIS for you to be able to assign some assignment to them, and they will be able to work, to be notified, and they're able to work from wherever they are. If maybe your field crew are not so conversant with the area where they'll be working from, you can also add a navigating, you can also use a navigator, ArcGIS for navigator. This will help them to navigate from where they are to the place where they're supposed to be doing field data collection. We also have another category for capture when it comes to capturing data. So last week we had a webinar for survey 1 to 3. This is also an application that is used for capturing data in a form. But today we will be looking at how do you capture data, or how do you map using collector for ArcGIS. So as you have people in the field collecting the data, you may also want to use operation dashboard just to monitor how the whole exercise is being carried on. And as they submit what their edits, as they submit whatever they're mapping, you're able to see in real time through operations dashboard. So for today, We have several webinars that are lined up. So we will be having another webinar, I think, next week, but one on operations dashboard. But for now, we'll focus on this component for capture using collector for ArcGIS. So allow me now to move to the next slide and talk more about collector for ArcGIS. So collector for ArcGIS, it's a field application that is used for capturing or for mapping features from the field. And when we talk of mapping, we are able to map a point, line, and polygon. So it works the same way as standard GPS works. So what you need to do is just prepare the schema, then push it into your smartphone or into a tablet, and you will be able to map either. You could map things like road network, you map them as line. If you're mapping polygons like maybe the playing field, maybe like the stadiums, you can map them as polygons. You can also maybe map things like water sources as actually a point. So in this case, I'll be showing you how you use collector for ArcGIS to map point, line, and polygon. What you need to know with collector for ArcGIS, it's as long as you have ArcGIS online organizational account, or you have an account maybe for ArcGIS, portal for ArcGIS, you just need to go to the Play Store and then you download collector for ArcGIS. Once you download it on your phone, it means that you're good to go. So let's look at how you do it. So the field data collection workflow, we have several steps that you need to undertake for you to actually collect the data in the field. So the first one is author and share a web layer. So for you to be able to share in a web layer, so ideally you're supposed to create a schema using ArcGIS for a desktop application. In this case, I will be using ArcGIS Pro to just create a schema. So when I talk of a schema, this is actually a template that will be used to collect the data from the field. So for this case, I'm taking a scenario where we are talking of a COVID-19 response. This is something that a lot of organizations are looking into. Assuming that you want to be able to support during this COVID-19, that is what your organization is planning to do. Maybe you want to be able to see which kind of resources do we need to give, especially to the vulnerable community. You may want to map community resources. When you talk of community resources, you're mapping things like the road infrastructure, the health facilities, maybe the water point, and so forth. So you need to create that schema using ArcGIS for desktop. Once you do that, you need to publish your schema as a web layer into ArcGIS Online or portal for ArcGIS. From there, you need to configure your layer, your web layer, in a way that it is accessible through collector for ArcGIS, and it is also editable. So once you configure that, you go ahead and create a web map. So ideally, collector for ArcGIS consumes web map. So you need to create out of the web layer that you've published from the desktop, you need to create a web map. Once you have that web map, you also need to share with the team that will be collecting the data. So you also need to have a group where you have a team for the field data collector. You share your web map with them. Once you do that, the next and the final step is for the field collector to download collector for ArcGIS in their phones, and then they will be able to download the web map and be able to go to the field and collect the data. The good thing with collector for ArcGIS, you can get information in real time as they map. If they're working offline, or if they're working online, they just need to map and they send automatically whatever they map is actually synchronized with the web map. So you're able to see data as they capture in near real time. So as you prepare the schema, it's very important for you to look at the data integrity. We normally safeguard the data integrity by introducing subtypes and domains. So when you talk of subtypes, these are category, assuming that you also want to map like the road infrastructure, like you're mapping the road network for that particular area. So instead of having your field personnel having to type, maybe they will have to type the name, yes, but when it comes to class, like in Kenya, we know we normally have class A all the way to class E road. So you can provide a drop down. So with a drop down, that helps a lot because people might make up some typo when they are typing. So we minimize typing by using subtext, whereby you choose one of the attribute and then you have some category. The same case for like water sources. You could indicate, are these permanent water sources or are they temporary? So you have those two broad categories. So that way you minimize the amount of typing. The same case with the attribute domain. Sometimes you also use attribute domains also to safeguard the integrity of the data. This I'll still use the same example where we are mapping the feature class we are mapping is the road network. So we've already done the subtypes for the road class, but we also have another attribute field, like for the surface type and the number of lanes in each road. So you can indicate, like for the surface type, we are talking of it's either tarmac, maram, aggregate, or the gravel. So for you to be able to map correctly the type of the surface for that particular road, so you can also introduce domains. The same case with the number of lanes. We know that like in Kenya, I think the road that has the most lanes is actually Thika Road, about 8 lanes. So you can actually include that, where you will have what we refer to as range domain. So from 1 lane to 8 lanes. So we have two types of domain. We have coded value domain that is applied for the text attribute field. Then we have the range domain that applies for the numeric attribute field. So those are the two ways where you can safeguard the integrity of your data. And this is applied while you are still creating your web layer, or you're creating your template from ArcGIS desktop. So then once you have created your web layer and you've applied the domains and the subtypes, you've made it enabled editing. So you just need to publish it into ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise. In this case, when you talk of ArcGIS Enterprise, I mean specifically ArcGIS portal for ArcGIS. So once it is hosted there, it means that you're able now to create a web app which will be used by the field operations guys. So once you have created a web map, the next thing you need to do is to ensure that you share with them your mobile workers or the field data collecting people. Once you share with them, what they need to do, they just need to take their smartphone, download collector for ArcGIS from the Play Store. And then they will be able, they launch the collector for ArcGIS from their phone, download the map if they intend to work offline, and with that, they'll be able to go out and collect the data. So when we when we look at the data collection mode, we have two options. So a collector for ArcGIS allows the two options. So you can work offline or you can work online. So if the people you're sending to the field, maybe the area has got no internet connectivity, so they will still be able to work offline. Then once they get to a place where there is internet, they can actually synchronize their edits. So if they will be working, if there is sufficient internet connectivity, they don't need to download. All they did is to just access the web map through their collector for ArcGIS, open it, and just continue working. So ideally, it supports both offline and online mode. So that is all. So for now, what I need to do is to take you back to software demonstration, where I'll just be demonstrating on the entire workflow. So what we will be looking at today, we are looking at a possibility of maybe there's this organization that needs to map the community resources for them to be able to support them better in terms of providing what the resources that they could be lacking, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. So allow me now to open ArcGIS Pro. So ArcGIS Pro is the desktop application that we use to other content. So once you start, so you can decide to create a project, or you just, but for now, I will not be creating any project because it's something very easy that I want to do. So this is how the ArcGIS Pro desktop application looks like. So for now, I'll start without a template. I don't want to create a project and then save it, because I just want to create a schema that I will push to ArcGIS Online. So I may not need to have it hosted locally here, so I don't need to. But the good thing with this, once you have opened ArcGIS Pro, you can do a folder connection. So I had already started creating schema just to save on time. So I will just connect to that schema where it is, but it's not complete. So I will also demonstrate on how you do it. So I've just connected to the folder where I have the data. This is community resource geodatabase. So what you need, the first thing you need to create a file geodatabase. Then inside that file geodatabase, you can create the feature classes that will be used to collect the data. So in this case, we will be collecting open spaces. These are very ideal, especially if we are looking at in a slum and we are thinking of maybe supporting like supporting things like mass testing. You need where people have got enough space for them to be able to maintain the social distancing. So we'll be looking if they have any maybe ground spots. The spots are grounds, are field, we could map them. Those are open spaces. The road network is very important. Water sources, remember we are being told to wash our hands regularly. So we need to say, do they have enough water sources? And if they are not, maybe we could think of providing them. So we also need to map of maybe things like health facilities. It's very important. So allow me to just load these layers like the one. So I could just open, add to the map. So this is what we will be mapping, but I just want to show you how you apply the domains and the. So let me just dock this. You just use this pin and then I've docked it there. So the road, I will also road that, the water sources. So this is what we'll be collecting. So I could just open the attribute table to see what kind of information are we going to collect. And as you can see for this, for the water sources, I have applied what I was talking about, the subtypes. Now I have is the water category. If someone maps that point of a water source, you can indicate whether it is a water tank, a standalone tap, a well, or a borehole. So ideally, this is whatever I have applied here. Sorry, it's actually category. Sorry, it's actually coded value domains. So here you have that drop down. So let me also open another one like for the road. I could just open the attribute table for the road. So as you map the road, you just have to type the name, but in terms of the surface, so here I've also indicated another coded domain whereby you either choose whether it is tarmac or marram. In terms of the condition, how is that a road? Is it in good condition, moderate, or poor? So you can see I'm trying to safeguard the integrity of the data by providing the drop down. So let me show you how I managed to do that. So we will create a new feature class for the health facilities. So we just click. So what you need to do is just right click your file geodatabase. Then you click on the new feature class. I'll give it the name. So the name, this will be the health facilities. The health facilities. We will map it as a point. And then I can just, so let me just click next. So we need to add the attribute. So here we could have one attribute, which is the type. In terms, is it private or government owned? So let's indicate the type of the health facility. Or let's just say maybe ownership. Yeah, let's just type. And then here we need to indicate. So here I need to provide subtypes. So in this case, I will do a short integer so that I can just give code, like maybe code 100 for the private hospital or a private health facility, code 200 for government. Then I could also add another field category. categories. So we know we have so many categories. Is it a hospital? Is it a dispensary? Is it a clinic? So in this case, this will be a text. So there's this field I've just added here. I need to delete it. So now I've just managed to add to the type and the category. So these ones will give us a chance to see how do you safeguard the integrity of your data by using the domains and the subtypes. So let's go next. I'll use the default coordinate. So the other layers in this geodatabase are WGS 1984. So I'll just use the same coordinate system. I think with that now I can just click on finish. So once you create a geodatabase feature class, the next thing you want to do now is to apply the domains and the subtypes. So let's give it some time to finish. So you can see it has been added here. So I'll just right click on this, then I click on design. So in this case, I want to design the subtypes. So from here, I can just click on the subtypes, then create. So what I want to do under the subtype field, this is the type that I want to apply. Then for the code here, I'll do code 100 and indicate that this is a private hospital or private health facility, private. Then I just click on enter and do code 200. This is for what? This is now for government. And then once you're done, you just need to click on OK. Then you click on the subtypes again and you save. So I've just applied the subtypes now. I can go back to the same health facilities layer as well. And then click on the design. I now want to add the domains. Remember, I also created another attribute field. So let me just click this for the subtypes first. So for the domains, I want to add another domain here. So I'll just click on the domain, then click on the new domain. So the name here I want is the health facility category, health facilities category. So I think you're not supposed to have spaces. So let me remove those spaces here. So I'll just copy this for the description and paste it here. Then it is a text domain. So since it is a text domain, you need to start typing. So we have, I'll just do like H for the health, for maybe hospital. For hospital, I could type C for clinic. I could type D for dispensary. So you need to do the same to just list all the categories we have for the health facilities. So once you're done with that, you just need to click on under the domains and then you save. So what we've just done is that we are minimizing the amount of typing that people need to do. So I need to just go back here also, and under the health facility design, and then now I want to apply the domains we have under the subtypes. So we need to apply now this category. We have a domain, so let's apply it. So under the health facility, whether you're mapping a private health facility, you'll have that drop down. So I need to apply these domains to this particular subtypes we have. So I'll also click here for the government and also do the same. So what I've just done is that when someone is populating this information, they will now have a drop down. So me first of all cancel. It's good to just once you apply anything, you make any changes, you save. So I will save that. Let me reapply this one and save. Sorry for that. So I've just saved. So what will happen now is that you will be able to have that drop down. Now I can add this layer. I can add this health facility, and you can see it's already, we have now either it's a private or a government owned. So with this, we can try to just test the schema we've just created for health facilities. So I'll just click on edit and then create. We assume that we are mapping around this region, and I want to map a health facility which is government owned. So you just need to pick on the template there that is provided. So you click on that where that health facility is. Let's look at the attributes. If I try to populate the attributes under the category, you see now I have whether I can indicate whether it is a hospital, clinic, or dispensary. So in this case, I'll just indicate it's a clinic. And so what I've just done, we've now created the schema and we've tested, and it's actually working. So we need to now publish this online. So it's good to have to share a clean template that doesn't have other features. So I'll just select these ones and delete. I'll do the same. So if it's the first time you're mapping that region, you really want to have a very clean plate. So we have tested the template, it's working. So I can rename this map. So properties, I'll just call it resource mapping. Resource mapping. With the resource mapping, then I'll just click OK. So the next thing you want to do now is to publish this into ArcGIS online or portal for ArcGIS, depending on what your subscription. Then from there, you will be able to create a web map. So we click here on the share. Under the share, I will choose this option for web layer. Then publish a web layer. I had already logged into ArcGIS online. This is the ArcGIS organizational account that I'll be using. So you can take the default name. So this one, I can just indicate a very small summary. It's a resource mapping. Resource mapping. The tags, assuming we are mapping this, maybe we will be mapping the community resources in one of the vulnerable areas in maybe Nairobi. We could indicate maybe Mathare. And then that is it. So when it comes to here, the layer type, so you need to ensure that whatever web layer you're publishing is actually editable. So I'll choose the first option for feature, since if you publish either as a tile or a vector tile, what it will do, you will not be able, the tiles are normally used for visualization, meaning that people will not be able to edit, but we want people to be able to edit. So let me select the folder. I'll use the default folder to store this web layer. You also need to specify whom you want to share with. In this case, I want to share with this group for field data collection. This is the group that I want to collect the data in the field. I've shared with them. And then I can just click on analyze. If you have any error, you'll not be able to publish. So for now, we don't have any error, so I can just go ahead and publish. So once you've published your layer, you need to go and log into ArcGIS online and configure that layer in a way that it is people are able to edit and can also be accessed using Collector for ArcGIS. So let's give it some time to publish. So I still urge you, if you have any question, you can just type it, and under the chat section, it will be responded to. So for the meantime, I could be logging into ArcGIS online. Allow me to minimize ArcGIS Pro. We are done with it now. Go to ArcGIS online. I had already logged in. So what will happen is that once we publish, I selected this default folder. The map will be added here. I called it, I think it has, I called it, I think, community resource mapping. So let me just confirm that it's 100%. So it's still work being published. So let's give it some time to publish. I think we are almost done in terms of the uploading. Don't know why it's taking so long. I think maybe my internet connectivity maybe it's not that strong. Let's just give it some more time to finish uploading. So just to save on time, I had published something because I can see it's taking a lot of time. But once it finishes publishing, you just need to go to online, online. There's this that I had published earlier, community resource mapping. So with this feature layer, once it finishes, you'll be able to find it here. So what you need is to click on these three points, three dots here, for you to be able to configure the layer in a way that is editable and people can work with it offline using Collector for ArcGIS. So I'll just click on these three dots. Then view item details. So I'll just click on the view item details. So under the view item, so what we need to do is to change some settings. So I'll just click on settings. Then we scroll down here. So these are settings. So in most cases, you find that these are not checked. It's only that I had done this previously. But ideally, once you click, if the first time you've just published the web layer, you'll find that this option is not checked. So you need to enable editing for people to be able to collect the data in the field. And this also is very important. Ensure that this is also checked. Sorry, let me just enable. Once you enable editing, it also checks automatically enable syncs. So with enable sync, so what it does, it will allow for offline. So if someone is working offline, they'll be able to download it and synchronize the edits once they're done. So those are the most critical things you need to check. You can also check the other things down here, but for now I think good. So if you want people to be able to download in different formats, you can also check that. So I think for now we have checked the most important settings, which is enabling, editing, and ensuring that synchronization is enabled. So once you have checked all the settings, you just need to click on the save. So once you save now, you can open this layer. So let's just open this layer. We'll just click on the overview. Then we open it in a map viewer for us to be able to create a web map. So let's wait for the layer to be added. So you can see resource, community resource mapping. So you see that it also comes with the name of the actual web layer that we published. So you can actually just try and edit this name by just clicking on these three dots. Then you rename. Then you can just remove the name of the map, and you're just left with the name of that particular feature. The same case with these community resources, just rename so that you're just left with the roads. So whoever will be collecting, they're able to just see that we are mapping roads, we are mapping roads, or I'm just taking mapping the water sources, or community, or I'm just mapping the open spaces. So just rename and just highlight whatever. You can just give it proper name, just click OK. So the next thing you need to do is to center your map to an area where you'll be collecting the data. And this is Mathare Valley, assuming this is where we will be mapping the data. Yeah, Mathare Valley in Nairobi, assuming that this is where we will be mapping the resources for this vulnerable community that lives around this place. So I'll just go ahead and save my map. Save as. So I want to map to just save it as a community resource mapping. So let me just type mapping resources. Sorry, mapping community resources. For the tags, I'll indicate it's Mathare, assuming this is the area where we'll be collecting. For description is mapping activity. So once you're done with that, I'll just go ahead and save. So I've just saved the map. So it's also good to save, to also share the web app with the same the same way you've shared the web layer. So you can see that group down here. Remember ahead. So what I will do, I'll just go back to the content folder. This is the content folder. From the content folder, I'll just click on, this is the map with the web map that we've just created. And this is the web map that will be used by the field operations. So by just selecting it, you can just click on the share here. I also want to share with this group that has edit, and the group that has the editing capability. This is the group I had shared the web layer with. So I also want to share with them the exact web map. So I'll just click on OK and save. So what I've done now, I've just used the web layer that we published from ArcGIS desktop, that is from ArcGIS Pro. We've created a web map, and it means that we are now ready to go to the field and collect the data. So what I will do, the next phase now needs to be done outside. But since I'm doing this demonstration, I'm inside the house. As I present to you, I may not be able to showcase the live demo on how you collect the data, but I had pre-recorded it. So that is what, because this section, when it comes to field data collection, it has to be done while you're outside. So I'll just play this small video here for you to see how you actually collect the data using Collector for ArcGIS when you're in the field. So what you do, once you have created your web map and you're ready to go to the field, if you plan to work offline, you need first of all to download your map. So let me show you how you go about it. You need first of all to download your Collector for ArcGIS. I have already done that. I'll click on it to start it. So once you launch a Collector for ArcGIS, you will be able to see the different maps that you have. So you can see I have all these maps here. So for this, I can just go to the field and work online. But since I plan to go to the field and work offline, so this is the map we'll be using, community resource mapping. We intend to go to the field and collect the community resources. So I'll just click on these three dots that are on my light. Then I add offline area. This allows you to download the area where you'll be collecting the data. So it's good to ensure that you've zoomed and to a level where you're able to see the exact area where you'll be conducting your field work. So let's select level of detail. In this case, we are trying to select the extent of our study area. So we have different ranges from the room all the way to continent, at the continent level. So our study area mostly just a small area. So I'll use the option for the city. We'll be looking just for a small area. So, and then I need to zoom to a place where I'm able to see the entire study area, because once I download, whatever is visible on my screen right now, that is the extent of my study area. So if I'm outside that area, I will not be able to submit. So I'll just go ahead and click on download area. So once you finish, it finishes downloading. It means that you can go out there and collect the data offline. You can go out there and collect the data offline. So let's give it time to download. So it is still downloading. So once it finishes, we should be able to go out there and start collecting the resources. So you can see that it has finished downloading. Now I can open the map and I will be able to work offline. So once you open and you go to the field now, the next thing you need to do is to start collecting the features. So there is this plus sign here. So I'll just click on it to be able to see all the features that you can actually collect. So we'll start by mapping the water sources. So once you go to a place where there is a water source, so you just need to click on that water source. I'll just click on it. Once you click on it, it automatically picks that location. So you need to give the name. So this one I'll just call it Huruma water tank. Huruma. Then category, we have this water tank, all these options. So in this case, this is a water tank. And then once you're done, you click on this sign here to submit. So we've just mapped our first water point. So you can go to the next water point and you repeat the same. So you just need to, once you go to another place, just use the plus sign, take the feature that you want to map, and that is it. So let's now map a line, a feature, like the roads connecting the road network within that area. So I'll just go back to the plus sign. And then in this case, we are mapping a Maram road. So I'll just click on Maram. And then with when you're mapping line and point feature, sorry, when you're mapping a line and polygons, you need to start streaming. So it will add vertices along the way. So I'll start streaming. And then you start walking along that road that you're mapping. So it is adding vertices as you go. So it just depends on how long your road is. So once you finish, you can see we've that is the line the road we are mapping. So once you get to the destination or to the end of that road, you need to stop streaming. And then once you stop streaming, you give it the name. I'll call it Bamako Road. And then I'd already specified it's a Maram road. So let's look at the condition. I think it's in moderate condition. And then on that submit icon up here, I will just click on it to submit. So you've seen that is the road we've mapped. Then you move to another area. Maybe there is there is now, when you go to a place where there is maybe a field, what you need to do is to click now on the polygon that you want to capture. In this case, we want to capture open spaces. This would be a spot ground. Then the same way, you click on these three dots for you to be able to start streaming. So I'll start streaming. Then for a polygon, you need to go round. Once you finish going round, you just need to click on stop streaming. Then you populate the information. So let's just go around. I'm working on a very small area just to demonstrate on how you go about it. But for a field, you'll have to go around the field. And once you finish that, you click stop streaming. Then you add. So you can see now we have a polygon, though not so big. So I'll just click on stop streaming. And then I will add the attribute, the name. I'll just call it Undugu sports ground. So Undugu sports ground, and submit. And now I can just submit. So once you're done with that, the next thing you need to do now, once you have finished mapping all your lines, your polygons, your points, once you're done with that, you just need now to go back with this one. So you're able to see what we have mapped. So once you're done with that, we can see we have 3 local edits. So we need to submit this, whatever we've mapped. So you still click on this, the 3 dots that are on your right, then you click on synchronize. So once you do that, all your edits will be sent back to the web map that is hosted online. And now as the field personnel sends in their edits, whoever is in the office is able to get the features that they have managed to map for that particular day. So that's all. Thank you. So once you're done with collecting the data in the field, now you've submitted. It means now that we've whoever is in the field can see where the resources are. And if you're planning to support the community, it means that if you're thinking of maybe giving an extra water sources, you know where to place the water sources. You don't want, you just place in areas that are not well covered. If you're thinking of giving some assistance to the health facilities, you already know where they are, so it's now easy to go about it. So that's all for today's webinar. We will be having another webinar for now, how